Hey guys, this is Ricky Rod, and welcome to this week's episode of Welcome to the Bomb House. Before we get started, just wanted to have a brief introduction to this episode. If you're not a musician, you're not a drummer, it shouldn't matter. You should find this episode very entertaining. You get to learn about a dude who's doing things the right way. And you'll get a glimpse into the culture of being a musician. Also, if you are a drummer or you are a musician, you will find this episode very entertaining, interesting, and you may learn something. If you have aspirations to be a musician, or you're in the process, or you're a contract musician right now, you may find some things pretty humorous and funny in this episode. But real quick, before we get started, I want to emphasize the importance of drummers. Okay, modern drummers are asked to do a lot. If you pay attention to a drummer nowadays, there's usually a laptop back there. They got some rolling pads. They got some electronic drums. Those guys are the reason all the cool loops and all the cool synth stuff you hear in the front house. It's because of that drummer. Drummers have gotten a bad rap, and I'm going to make sure that stops now. Peace out. All right, everybody. Welcome to the Bomb House.
Welcome.
How are you, Jimbo?
I'm awesome, man. How are you, Ricky?
Well, I'm excited about today's guest.
So am I.
He is, to say he's near and dear to my heart is not enough, I don't think, right?
Yeah, that's not right.
How many songs do you think you play drums on records for me? Easy. Like, let's just hypothetical.
Probably like 350, probably like 5 times.
I would say hundreds. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have Michael Atkins.
Michael Atkins.
Hey,
So Mike, let's tell the audience, what do you do right now? Where are you working?
I work in a big church in Charlotte. It's called Forest Hill. We have like 6 campuses, and I am the worship leader at our main campus, South Park.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So for our audience, Mike, how old were you when I met you?
Oh, man.
Were you even 16? I don't know.
No. The first time we met, I was like 12.
Yes.
But the time that we like actually started doing like music together, I was like 14 or 15.
During the 7 Miles days, when I was with 7 Miles. So if you haven't listened to this podcast before this episode, I was in a regional band called 7 Miles. Jimmy, we discussed in the first episode, we talked about a lot of the history of his band and where his band, a lot of those guys have moved on to some pretty amazing things. And they've all come from this area, pretty much all of them. And Mike, I think you have a very unique story. I think people need to know. So whether you're a musician, right? If you're a musician at home and you're wanting to get your chops up and you're wanting to get into the biz, right? The biz.
The biz.
And or importantly, I do run across, especially in the Christian world, I run across musicians that really do have a good balance of ministry and music. Yeah. Now, so for our not Christian audience or overly religious audience members, when I say that, there's a lot of musicians in the Christian world that are just about them.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They're just about them, and they tend to be singers.
Yeah. That's an understatement.
And worship leaders, right?
Yeah.
And listen, I'm not trashing worship leaders. Yeah. We have one of my favorite ones right here on the couch today.
Oh, thanks, man.
Okay, so
I appreciate
no, you're in a chair. He's talking
Jimmy.
about me. I'm on the couch.
But so yes, it does attract some douchebags. Let's just be honest.
Yeah,
and it's not just dudes. I see it with girls too.
Yeah.
And it's a horrible stereotype. I know I'm making fun of it, okay? But you got the classic guitar player stereotype. You got all that. But musically, musicians, we're a little crazy. We're a little out there. So it does attract that kind of that personality. So I do run across, even in the Christian world, where people they're just more focused on themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was never the issue with you. I felt like even when you were a young, a teenager, we're going back to like the first time I put you on a click track, right?
Yeah.
That you were not ever that guy. So could you walk me through? Yeah. Well, I think anybody that would meet you would know that. But so let's talk about how you got from being contract drummer, studio drummer. Mm-hmm. You know, you were in this band, right? By the way, I think I was on the road this past week with some dudes that remembered y'all. But which was awesome. They remembered us from the Hickory Convention show. You remember that third day show?
Yeah.
So, but anyway,
yes, I
oh
do.
yeah. But that was an interesting
that was
weekend.
my Mac Powell impression.
Yes,
whom I love.
Listen,
I do love Mac Powell.
Let me tell you something about Mac Powell. I can say this safely without him kicking my butt now. But, you know, in my defense of Third Day, he was in a band called Third Day. They were really big, huge, like
real big.
monsters, and they still are. You know, the band. I mean, they're legends. Okay, but I sort of like. I loved their early music. I loved what they were about, and they got huge, I think, after their third record. And I just, you know, and it wasn't anything about Third Day, but Christian music in general took a direction in the late '90s that disgusted me to this day.
Yep.
So that sounds horrible, but it is what it is.
Well, yeah, I think a lot of us had like branched out from Christian music.
Exactly.
At that time.
So I get to hang out with Mac for a few days. The dude like won me over.
Yeah.
Like, and now I'm running front house. Okay, so I'm like getting yelled at by the promoter. You got management. You've got the band. And, you know,
you got the random old guy.
Yeah,
that's
you
like,
got
it's
everything.
Too loud.
And that dude was nothing but a gentleman.
Yeah.
And was awesome and down to earth. And he just won me over. Like, and it wasn't by his silky, sexy vocal, which is amazing. His vocal
it is
every
quite
night,
silky and sexy.
dude. Every night he killed it. Every night, killed it. He smoked it. And he won me over pretty quick just by being easy to work with.
Yeah.
You know. So let's get back to the whole kind of how you went from being this band guy, drummer guy, because I remember when you were younger in the studio with your band, you guys were still, you know, learning how to write songs, right?
Yeah, sure.
And if I remember correctly, you had never been on a metronome prior to the studio.
No,
right?
I swore up and down that when I was playing along, this is how you're really naive when you're like 9 years old and trying to play in bands.
Yeah.
I swore up and down that the songs that we were playing along with to learn on cassettes and CDs were speeding up and slowing down. Like it obviously wasn't me. You know what I mean? Like it was whoever had tracked this thing just didn't know what they were doing. But yeah, I remember like the first time we walked in, and if anybody has ever worked with Ricky, you know that like there's a bunch of important things. Like there's really deep, important things that Ricky is going to go over. But the number one as a drummer or a guitar player is to play on a click. And if you are not on that click, you are not playing that record.
Yeah, I just had that discussion with somebody this week.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah.
Just had but anyway, let's go on. Let's keep on going.
Yeah,
By the way, if I remember, you killed it.
Well, thanks, man.
Yeah, you killed it. And
because he really wanted to be on the record.
It's trial by fire, man.
But if I remember correctly though, the whole band was great. You know, you guys were really young guys, but back in those days, the studio software I used, it's the same stuff, Pro Tools.
Yep.
It wasn't as easy to manipulate things that it is now. And part of the reason I was such a stickler about a drummer was, number one, I didn't want to have to spend hours fixing drum tracks.
Did they have the quantizing?
Not the way we see it now. We had a
Yeah.
limited version of Beat Detective is what it was called. And even then, I don't even know if it was on that version of Pro Tools.
Yeah.
You know, but regardless, there was editing and it was usually manual. But I remember you killed it. Like you really did do a good job. But you weren't just a drummer, right?
Correct.
You sang.
Yeah, I sang. So my story is a little crazy because, you know, you have guys that join a band that's like, hey, I play this one instrument, right? Or I do this one thing really well. And so I fit in this band like really well. Like a band is going out and they're like, man, we really need a guitar player. Let's go get the guy that plays guitar. You know what I mean? You'd never say, hey, let's go get the keyboard player that also plays guitar to be our guitar player. You know what I mean? Like, you just wouldn't do that.
Yeah,
like, when you go
true.
shopping,
True.
you want the one thing that you're supposed to go get.
Yeah.
But for me, I started playing drums, and for lack of, the perception of humility, I truly mean this humbly, but drumming is directly a gift from God for me.
Yeah.
But there was a sort of, like, I started when I was like 6.
Yeah.
And I was really good. Like this,
Like stupid good for a kid.
That's good.
this
though.
like prodigy.
Like you knew it.
Yeah.
Like you knew it.
And
Yeah.
and I was like, this is what I want to
See,
do.
when I was your age, I was like, man, I'm good at Zelda. That's what I was thinking.
That was, man, I love Zelda, dude. Don't even get me started
Okay,
on
so
Zelda.
but you knew at an early age that, hey, I could play the drums.
Yeah, I want to play drums.
Yeah.
And so,
Didn't you end up playing with like Don Moen?
yeah, so
Right?
Don Moen.
So for those
A
of
legend.
you who don't know who Don Moen is,
He's a legend. He
Don-
really is.
Yeah, Don Moen was the perennial like Christian worship leader.
Yes.
Before like Tomlin and Crowder.
Oh yeah, he was
for the
it.
contemporary church
Yeah.
movement.
So even though some of the songs were like really militant for some reason,
yeah.
I remember
those
Mighty
days,
Warrior.
Mighty
Warrior,
man.
dressed for battle.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I remember that song.
They rush on the cities. They run on the walls.
Yes, they
like
did.
it's just like this really
Greatest
militant.
army.
Listen, at my church, I'm gonna say this. I don't care. This may get me in trouble. Okay, these guys would use Martin guitars and banjos at my church, and use a name with bluegrass that I'm not gonna say that rhymed with blue, and that's what they called it. And I remember going, "Oh my God, what am I?" But that's what
What are we
that's
a part
what we
of
did.
right now?
That's what we did.
So
the dude did. Don Moen's a legend, still is.
yeah. He did this.
I found his YouTube channel recently, and his studio looks crazy.
Yeah, I'm sure.
His console, I think I would sell him buy 15 houses with.
Oh my!
I'm pretty sure it's that good. It's
Yeah.
that nice.
Yeah,
Mighty Warrior bought that.
Mighty Warrior.
Yes, it did. All right, so okay,
but
so
yeah, like at 13, I played this show with like it was like 2,200 people.
wow,
Yeah.
That's
it was
crazy.
A packed house.
Yeah, I was 13, and Don
drums
Moen
with
was
Don
coming
Moen.
into town. Yeah,
Oh my
and
God.
and he's like,
Wait, did you even have armpit hair at that time?
I don't know.
It looked like a self-playing drum kit because he was so short.
Was he so
behind.
I was real little back
You know
then.
those player pianos that have
Yeah.
ghosts playing them?
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
see something there, but we're
So,
not sure.
funny story. He was actually touring with Lenny LeBlanc, who was the guy that wrote Above All,
I remember him.
right?
Yeah, I think I mastered a project for him.
Yeah, super nice guy.
Yeah, very sweet.
But like, okay, so I'm 13. I love rock and roll music. I'm playing on this Roland V drum kit, right? So what's crazy is a lot of people used to say that I played like Animal from the Muppets, but it's because you're 13. Like, there's angst. There's like emotions.
Pent up energy.
Yeah, and it's just like, man, I'm playing drums. Like, I want to smack these drums as hard as I can. Well,
Well-
it's this Roland V drum kit that if there's any drummers out there,
Yeah, those are Satan.
They
Those
are.
Those are evil.
they are. But drumsticks, like, what you should use on those are like the max you should use is like a 7A. Like,
So
a
we're
pretty
talking
small
like
stick.
a thin stick.
yeah, like a thin, jazzy kind
Yeah.
of stick. I'm using 2Bs, which are
So
like
they're
marching
like tree
sticks.
trunks. They're like tree
Yeah,
trunks.
and I'm breaking them on this
On
stinking
electronic drums?
electronic rolling
Is that
kit.
the one that was made with mesh that
Yeah,
bounced
yeah.
back?
There's like this little trigger in the middle.
Like trampolines.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really
so,
bizarre.
So whoever the dude was that had to play that kid after was probably not using good language. I was
Correct. I actually
Yeah.
had a conversation with the guy that was doing that.
I've done that before.
That's a real
I pissed off a bass player years ago as a kid because I was slapping the bass,
Slap at the bass.
and he would go, "Don't do that." I mean, literally, just stopped in the middle of the conversation, looked at me, and went, "Don't do that." I was like, "All right, dude."
This guy
Whatever.
that talked to me was the drummer on the weekends, and I was always his backup. You
Yep.
know, like they would have to come get me out of children's church to come play drums. I'm dead serious.
That is so
And
funny.
the preacher always called me Sprout. Oh
Hey,
man, it's
Sprout.
good to see Sprout up there.
So was your dad in ministry at this time? Because
Yeah, oh, yeah.
he was in ministry the whole
He
time.
was the
Yeah.
youth pastor there.
But
God,
yeah,
that's
man,
crazy.
like that funny story though. Show with Lenny LeBlanc. he starts playing Above All, and it's one of the first times he's ever played it live.
Above all.
Yeah, and it's like all folky and like guitar. And dude, I come in with this like it's like crucified, laid behind, and I'm like boom, 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 boom.
Dude, so you were
and so he like cuts
you're doing
me off.
trap beats?
Yeah, like behind his back, like I'm in the middle of the stage, right behind Lane
And he's just going.
and yeah, he's just like trying to sing this beautiful song, and he's just like, stop
this
playing.
is
So
great.
in the middle of the phrase, I just do this weird fill.
And
And
just
just
stop.
sit back like I'm the man, I'm 13 years old. I'm like,
That's so
dude,
funny.
I just wrote this drum part for Lenny LeBlanc.
That's great.
It's totally
So,
gonna use that in the
But
studio.
you guys grew up. Did you guys grow up in Caldwell County, right?
Yeah, for the most part. Our
I
dad.
don't think we actually said yet that you're my brother.
I
Oh
know
yeah,
you
hey, you're probably hearing us and being like,
Mike,
who's talking?
Mike is 4 years younger than
Yes.
me.
yeah.
So, but you guys grew up in Caldwell County, right?
For,
the
I did
most part?
more than you did. Yeah, for the most part.
We moved here when I was like 11. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I got you.
I was like 6 or 7.
So, what do you think? How did like growing up in this area, being a musician, feel like? Because I know to me, it felt very isolated.
So
At first, until I found my like group of friends.
yeah, the church that when we first moved here, our dad took on this role of like youth minister, but he did like everything.
Yeah, he did some
That's
singles
that's
group
the way it
ministry and-
that's the way it normally is.
Yeah, that's
by
the way it
way.
always is.
You're doing everything.
Yeah. Hey,
You're getting paid
you
for
can
one
sing?
thing.
All right.
You're getting paid for one thing, but you're doing everything.
Here's everything. We need somebody to cook next Sunday for the potluck.
Yep.
It's you.
He's not kidding.
No, I'm not at
Yeah.
all. But like when we first got to that church, that church in the area
Yeah.
was the more contemporary, bigger church.
Yeah. Yeah. Mount Grove. Was it
Mountain
Mount
Grove.
Grove?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. They're
So-
still kicking it, man.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
But like at the time, like in this area, that if anybody doesn't know where like Ricky and Jimmy and I come from, it's like it's kind of backwoodsy. Like
Yes.
it's come a long way since
Western-
we've been here. But
Western North Carolina will always feel like it's 10 years behind a
exactly,
major city.
and,
It's
and
just
that's the main point. So
part
like,
of it's the culture. And that's why we're doing this podcast, to let you know we're not complete idiots.
yeah, we don't just play banjo and like spit
yes,
tobacco.
Exactly.
But yeah, so like we got there, and that church for me was the first solid church we'd ever gone to, because Jimmy probably remembers the church beforehand, like Second Baptist.
Yeah.
I don't remember
Wait,
that
the
one.
church was called Second Baptist?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I don't
some
even
people
know if
got
there was
mad
a
at
first.
The First Baptist and
They just started
They
the
started
second.
the second.
Yeah, I've seen those.
Started the second
Okay.
one. But that was out in the Raleigh area.
yeah.
But so this church was actually the bigger church.
And you had a pretty supportive
yeah, where you
crew there.
had drums in
And
that
I always
church.
remember them doing events and things.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Bringing
'cause-
in Don Moen,
Yeah,
like that
yeah.
kind of thing.
See, early on, I felt like I had a support system, and then as I grew up, a lot of my friends left, and,
Yeah.
and when I started my band, I did find like we had like the same values as far as music, even on faith, and if it wasn't for that, because it can get pretty weird living in this area, and
Yeah.
then deciding one day, hey, I think I'm going to try this music thing.
Yeah, for sure. So we had some foundational stuff. You still had to go through a lot of
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
red
We
tape.
couldn't have electric guitar on
Yeah,
stage at
yeah.
our church. I remember that specifically. Told that. No electric.
yeah. So I mean, there were drums in this church, which was huge. And so for me as like
So
a
that
little
was a
kid
big deal.
drummer,
So that was good, man. So
yeah,
that was
yeah,
good.
oh yeah,
So let's fast forward to you become a band, right?
Yep.
With your brother.
Right.
Yep.
And we sort of touched over this on the first podcast, but I think I started using you pretty quick, I felt like,
Yeah.
in the studio. And we joke about how many songs you've played on, but I'm not joking. You've probably played on every genre
yeah. I'd
of,
say
of
so.
music. Because I don't just do one genre. I just didn't do Christian records or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. In order for me to keep my sanity, I realized I had to branch out
Yeah.
into different styles of music, and it turns out I loved it. I love that. So, and I remember you just adjusting to that so quick.
Yeah.
So, do you have any tips for drummers or even a musician, but really I mean, I'm serious. You did an entire country record for me.
Sure.
And I know you probably didn't have a lot of time listening to country music.
And if I did, I wouldn't have.
Yeah.
I just don't like country music.
So how did you approach that session? Because I know there's musicians out there doing music they're not believing in. Like,
oh yeah,
it is what it is.
Yeah.
So how did you, like, I know how I approach it, and to me it's like putting a puzzle together.
Yep.
Like, that's the challenge.
Yep.
As long as I believe the songwriter cares about what they're doing and their vocals are solid, I'll make the record.
Yeah.
You know, as long as they care about what they're doing.
Yep.
You know, so how did you approach that? Like, when I would call you and be like, so got a country record, need you to come play some drums.
I remember once we started getting into the swing of things,
Yep.
I would ask you, like, do you have a reference song?
Yep.
For this whole record,
Yep.
like whatever it is, and
Which
I remember,
is very important, by the way.
Yeah, I remember there was one, and it wasn't a country record, but you sent me something, and I was like, all right, what's the feel here? And you sent me a Tom Petty song.
Yep.
And so I was like, okay, well, what am I hearing right now? This guy is not flashy,
Yep.
and he is sticking to this pocket.
Yep.
So my job in this song is to be the foundation for the vocal and for the guitar. For me personally,
What you just said gave me chill bumps. So
Yeah.
let's reiterate that. We need to talk about that. When you're a musician, you've got to allow the songs to develop. For example, you're not going to be playing a drum solo on top of the chorus
absolutely.
of the song. Believe it or not, that has never been said to some people. You can go on YouTube and you can see it for yourself.
Blows my mind.
Blows
my mind.
So what he just said was he just played for the song.
Yeah, you
is
play for the
what you're
song.
saying.
And that's something that the three of us have talked about extensively.
Yep.
What is the most important thing that you're trying to create is the song.
Period.
I'm not trying to create amazing drum parts
Yep.
that when you listen to the song, you're like, dang, those drums are great.
Yeah.
I want you to say, this song is great, and one of the reasons it's great is because of the drum parts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that brings me to this then. You're a songwriter. When you come into the studio and you create a song that you've written, what would be the difference between that and then coming in and being the drummer for someone else's project?
So
That's a different mindset.
it is, and this goes back to my
Yeah.
uniqueness, like my unique story. I'm a drummer that had to learn guitar to be able to play the songs I was writing.
Yep. And you learn guitar really quick.
Right.
I remember being mad about that.
The songs that I was writing had melodies but no music, but they had sick drum beats because that's what I did. Right? So like I played drums. So if I'm recording my thing, my drum parts are probably a little more knitted into the core of the song.
Well, I mean, Dave Grohl is the easiest example.
Absolutely. Don Henley, Dave Grohl.
And if you listen to the earlier Foo Fighter records where he basically played the drums on those records until he got Taylor Hawkins. Right?
Oh my gosh.
And of course, Taylor.
I love Taylor.
Taylor took it like to he's influenced by the Police. So he's a flashier drummer.
Yep.
Than Dave, but when Dave played the drums on those records, man, like it established it's so good, so good.
Well,
that's a really good example.
What's
of
so
a drummer
crazy,
pushing the music.
Exactly. What's so crazy is Dave Grohl and Taylor both came from 3-piece bands.
Wow, I did not know that.
But Dave Grohl's 3-piece band was.
I did not know that about Taylor. I knew that about Dave.
Yeah. At some point he had played. I don't know if it was his first band, but Dave Grohl came from Nirvana.
Yep.
Who had Kurt Cobain.
Yep.
So what was the main thing that you walked away from Nirvana with was Kurt Cobain's lyrics and the feel of the whole thing, which was Kurt Cobain.
And you can argue, I think they had already signed before they had Dave.
Yeah.
But I think had done a record already. But when Dave joined, that obviously completed
the whole thing.
That was
but
that
Dave
was the
as a
ingredient.
songwriter he was playing to the songs with Nirvana, where Taylor is this flashier drummer.
He's great, man.
So his 3-piece bands were more about the music.
Have you ever found his solo stuff on YouTube?
Taylor's?
You need to.
Man.
It is mind-blowing. It's like 70s glam.
Yeah.
It is crazy.
Yeah.
Like he plays everything. Plays the guitar, bass,
I randomly
drums, vocals.
saw him in LA with this artist that I can't remember the name of. They were the artists for Jimmy Kimmel.
Oh yeah.
So we went and saw one of their shows, and he's playing, and it's like it's Taylor.
Yeah, he's just
playing
jamming.
like Taylor, but he's fitting into this weird
And he just
70s, 90s
he's
Americana.
great, man. Yeah, he's great, man. But getting back to like the drummer thing,
Yeah.
right? Like this is where your evolution as a musician really takes a different turn.
Right.
Because I do remember you being here. You got married, right? And you stayed in this area for how many years after you got married? A couple of years.
A couple, yeah, 2 or 3.
And sometimes, and I've experienced this personally, you know, a lot of the musicians and artists that are from this area end up leaving, right?
Yeah.
It is what it is. I stopped getting bummed out about it years ago.
Yeah. Which I'm glad, because I used to sit with
Well,
Ricky
the
and
world-
talk about, man, everybody's leaving, and then I left.
The world has gotten smaller because of social media, and I don't feel as disconnected
Right.
that I did maybe 10 years ago. And I remember telling my wife this, that I was like, you know, you could be a musician in this area and feel very isolated sometimes. And I think that's why we, like when guys find pockets of bands, they just sort of stick with that pocket and they don't really ever venture out, you know? And that's why I wanted to discuss with you, it's not like you found a way out. It wasn't like this was a horrible situation,
Right.
But an opportunity came, right? You started contracting
Right.
at churches to play drums.
Yep.
So let me define contracting for y'all that don't know. A lot of the musicians that are at bigger churches get paid. Boom.
That's contracting in a nutshell.
I just blew your mind.
That's what
I
it is.
really thought that's it. Like that's
literally
you can't
it.
really elaborate
it.
on that anymore.
no,
I can't say it anymore.
no.
So just so you know, most big churches hire and contract musicians. It is what it is. Okay. So you started playing in Charlotte a lot more, correct?
Yeah. So at the time that we actually left,
And you played New Spring too.
yeah,
right?
played New Spring, played Elevation.
Yep.
Played. There's a bigger church up here in Asheville.
Yep.
Called Biltmore Baptist.
Yep.
I played there. And then fill in the blank with any other church, like
Yeah.
tons of other churches.
Because there's a need.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
absolutely
it's
a need.
not just that these larger churches have more resources to pay people.
It's they have
that
a
they
need.
have a need for
There's
those
an actual need, and I want to make sure that's known.
Yeah.
There's a need for these guys.
Yep.
So,
Absolutely.
But
Yeah, I would say if you're ever on the fence about like jumping into that,
yeah,
like do it.
yeah, you got to
and-
try,
and-
man.
But the way that you keep it, and this is what I learned,
Yes.
the way that you keep it is to serve.
Yeah.
And so
Well.
the same
Oh my
the
God.
same method
Y'all
of
make me preach today.
the same method of serving the song that you would do in the studio.
You serve
You
the
serve
people.
You serve the people. You serve the set. You
Yep.
serve
the volunteers.
yeah, and most
My-
importantly, I mean,
my-
hopefully you're serving Jesus.
My favorite thing about what I get to do on the weekends is not the playing.
It's the smallest part.
It's the hanging.
Yeah.
Like hanging with my team, talking gear.
Yep.
Just having fun, embarrassing some of our vocalists because I say some really funny off-colored things sometimes, and it embarrasses them. But
Yeah.
you know, I just have fun. I don't do it to be mean.
Absolutely.
But the hang is what I'm about.
Yep.
Like even I just did a short run with Benton Blunt and Mac. I didn't do that to hang out with Mac Powell. I could give no offense. I could give a rip about. I mean, I care about him, but I don't care about that.
Right.
I
Right.
cared about the promoter, who was a longtime friend, and I cared about Benton.
Yeah.
And those are dudes I can hang out with till 2:00 in the morning and not want to strangle, have breakfast with, have lunch and dinner, and man, we had a blast.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think that chemistry was what made that tour so successful.
You just hit it on the head.
Yep.
Chemistry is
Yeah.
is the key to that.
So musicians, we're going to say this probably every podcast. There is a musician on here, but you know, be a good dude, be a good gal,
exactly.
right?
Yeah.
And
Be
it's about
a
the hang.
good human.
Yeah, it's not, and it's not about the rock star lights.
It's not. And what's funny is, you know, we played in a band for ever.
Yeah,
Yep.
long time.
And it's not super glamorous.
No, it's
Like,
not.
People are like, man, you're making records and all this and that and the other. And it's like, yeah, but
in
I
the
almost,
back of your mind, you're like, ah.
yeah, I wanted to stab my brother in the eye with a screwdriver because we disagreed on one word in our lyrics. Like, it's
Yeah, but,
just
hey,
ridiculous.
listen.
That nobody would ever.
Yeah, I know.
Have thought
And everybody's
about.
like, oh, that's the worst song on the record.
But you have to go through that process.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
Like, you have to go through that to sort of get to the other side
Yeah.
of whatever it is you're working on creatively. I think, but getting back to the church thing, you were contracting,
Yep.
right? And then you ended up pretty much only contracting at Forest Hill.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah. We so
Did
our
they
dad
even know you sang?
No.
They didn't know,
Which is
That's
hilarious.
That's the best thing ever.
Because
okay,
that's all we had done.
So
Like,
you were only playing drums
only playing drums
at Forest Hill.
Yep. So I got to Forest Hill. My boss now, his name is Nelson Rios. Nelson. Ricky knows Nelson.
That's the best dude.
Jimmy's met Nelson several
Oh my
times.
God, he's a legend.
Yeah, I
mean,
love
literally,
Nelson. He's amazing.
Every time I put my ears on, right, when I play with y'all, and I hear him play bass,
Yeah.
I don't even want to play my guitar.
It's
That
dumb
dude-
how good he is.
He's a jazz guy that just can play everything.
Well, he's a Brazilian, so
Yeah.
he was in this big band by the time he was 14.
Yeah, he's huge.
in Brazil.
Yeah.
He had to get his parents to sign so
A
that he
waiver.
could go into the venues that they were playing. Like, he wasn't allowed in
Yeah,
the venues.
he's a monster.
He had to flash, instead of an ID, he had to flash his parents' signature.
So you have like an amazing, you're playing with some amazing people.
Oh yeah, yeah. So I get there and Nelson brings me in. They had this
Hey,
emergency.
sorry, I have one more question.
Oh yeah.
Style of music, like how would you describe what y'all are playing there? It's
What
a
we're
little bit-
playing now?
Yeah, well, how it's changed and what it is.
It is a potluck.
Yeah,
like
it's a
there
little
is
bit
a
everything.
lot of
It's not just one style.
no.
Y'all are
Not
doing
at all.
everything.
Yeah.
Okay, because I think it's important for people to know.
There's a hybrid. There's
Yeah.
a hybrid there, and it's good. We're finally getting to a point where it's not.
and it's okay.
rolling your eyes
Yeah,
having to do a song.
churches are always like trying to figure this out, guys. Like, this is not by luck that what you're hearing on that stage is not just thrown together. It's
Right.
thought about.
Right.
It's discussed. It's a direction, and I think it's fantastic that happens.
Yeah, it's a process too.
yes,
It's
yes,
often
it is.
tested. Is
Because
what I was gonna say.
we went through this thing of, like, we want to be a diverse church because
Yeah.
South Park in Charlotte
It's
is
a very diverse area.
super diverse.
Yeah.
But we have predominantly white people in this building that seats 2,200 people, and we have 3 services on the weekend.
Yeah.
And it's like, but it's predominantly white.
Yeah.
And there's this balance of like,
How do you?
yeah.
And that's always, I think, as a church grows, there's always going to be that. Like,
yeah.
I've seen Elevation change over the years,
Yeah.
with different things and even New Spring. So, but anyway, getting back to your drumming and them not knowing you sing. So
yeah. So I'm there. I'm there playing drums.
And you're commuting from here to there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So it's about an hour and a half.
Yep.
And Nelson's like, do you play jazz? And without hesitation, I say yes.
Oh my God.
Now let me tell you guys something.
Technically, you may have played jazz.
I
Maybe.
may have once on
so
a record.
technically, you did lie.
so jazz is huge, right? Jazz is like this all-encompassing term. And I tell him yes, and then I get home and he's like, "All right, cool. I want you to play like in a couple of weeks." And I'm like,
Oh my God.
"Okay, send me the song as soon as you humanly can."
Wow.
So I go and learn it. Like, I learned jazz.
learned it all.
But I didn't just learn the song. And this is what I would say to contract musicians and stuff. Don't just learn the song. Learn, like, be the best you can in that genre.
Yeah.
So I learned, a couple of different types of brush stroke techniques with
Wow.
wire brushes. And
Boy,
and so I show up.
That's a big leap.
Well, yeah, that way you're flexible. If
Yeah.
they're like, "Hey, let's actually do this breakdown here,"
Yeah.
that wasn't on the little track that you're supposed to learn.
Yeah.
So that you're not a robot stuck
Yeah.
to the track.
Yeah.
Well, now I have a bunch of different things in my tool
Yeah.
belt that I can pull out. And
Yep.
Nelson's like, "Dang, man, you do play jazz." And I was like, "I do now."
you were like,
You had to learn
Dang,
that.
I do play jazz.
And by no
Had to
means am
learn.
I saying like in a week I learned jazz. I just mean like I learned some fundamentals of it that I could utilize.
Yeah.
And I think musicians just, man, we are so egotistical.
That we
Just
don't
as
want to
artists,
stretch out.
we don't.
Yeah.
We're like, this is who I am. This is my tone. This is what I do.
Oh,
and
my
it's
God.
like, Well, cool.
It's
Have
hard to
fun in
admit.
the corner by yourself. I mean,
It's
you're not.
I think even as a even me as a producer, being a guitar geek, right? I'm
Yeah.
a huge guitar geek, and I play guitar, but I
Which pair well together, by the way.
thank you, but I don't like There are times that I'm sick of hearing myself play on some of the
Absolutely.
productions that I produce, and I'll just grab players. I'll be like, hey man, come down and do the I call it the flavor stuff, but all the really cool guitar stuff.
Yeah.
I'll invite other guitar players in. Number one, if I can get younger players and help them a little bit, get their feet wet in the studio, it helps us. And but I always send them a sort of a direction, but I've always preferred like the 70-30 mix. 70% sound prepared, 30% let it sort of give me some stuff that's not planned.
Let the studio pull
Yeah,
something
yeah,
out.
exactly.
Yeah.
So
And I want to touch on that real
Yep.
quick. You said you like to use young musicians
Yep.
to help them. I would not be anywhere where I am had Ricky not
oh man,
gone out on
That's
a
true,
limb
man.
with me.
I don't take that very well. I don't take compliments.
I know you
very
don't,
well.
I
but
know.
it's true.
Yeah.
I would venture to say that most of the young musicians who are involved in some kind of faith-based community in this area
Yeah.
know of
Yeah,
the
I
help
do.
that he-
I do
Ricky
get,
is the hub of networking.
I do get weird looks sometimes from different people, but I think the last time I was recognized was because of a YouTube channel. That was really strange, but that's a whole different story. But back to musicians. I think, I've always felt strongly about this. Is that this is a cliche, but young people really are gonna point the foot forward.
Yeah.
I'm always careful. I don't get a chance to listen to a lot of music because I'm so surrounded by music.
Right.
But when I do ask my kids like what they're listening to, and I do ask young people what they're listening to. The guys I play with on the weekends, I play with some amazing talent. And we're talking like 20-year-old dudes.
Yeah.
That are just unbelievable guys.
Yeah.
And I learn as much from them as maybe they've learned from me. And maybe I bring a leadership skill set from just being an old dude and being around.
And a seasoning.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
bring a seasoning to it.
That may be what I bring, but I'm playing with young people like Jason Singleton, my drummer that I use now.
Man, I love Jason.
Oh my God.
The only problem
has
I have with
changed my
Jason,
life.
the only problem is that he's your drummer now, and I'm not.
Well, listen.
But when you
Man.
move to Charlotte,
Oh
you have
my
to
God.
forfeit some
One
things.
day. But Jason,
man, I love
Jason's a good
Jason.
example of somebody that just, man, his talent level is just so high.
Right.
Yeah.
And
And you've given him opportunity.
and I'm gonna take care of my guys.
Yeah.
Period. Like
Absolutely.
that's sort of like my rule. If I can take care of y'all, I'm gonna do it because number one, I really do run this like a family atmosphere. It's very chill. It's not a stressful environment, but I'm not stupid. I know I'm not gonna have Jason forever.
Yeah.
But I'm at the point now that I have you, I have Jason, I have a couple of other dudes that all I have to do is just text you
Yep.
and be like, hey man,
Yeah.
can I get you in here for a day? And the answer is like, yeah, man, let's do it.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
and we can literally walk in without communicating hardly at all and just go.
Yeah,
So
you guys don't know probably by listening. You have no idea what the studio looks like, but there's a window from the live room into the control room.
Yep.
And so Ricky literally some of the records we've played have been very simple.
And hand signals. That's all we
hand
use.
signals. So Ricky will throw up a C and I'll
the
be like,
chorus.
"All right, we're going to the chorus." So
Yeah, that's
I'll make up a beat,
Yep.
and I can't tell you how many times we've actually stuck with the first run of the track.
we've done that a lot. And it's because I always tend to choose vibe over
Yeah.
perfection sometimes.
Yeah.
But
But that's part of you taking care of the people,
Yeah.
communicating like
these guys,
Yeah.
it's pretty fun. But okay, so I want to get back to how you became a worship leader because this
Yeah.
is one of the craziest things I've ever heard. So
So
how
one
did
of
you
my
become a worship leader?
so one of my really good friends, and she is now at one of the other campuses.
Wait, Sarah?
Sarah, yep,
She's
Sarah
awesome.
McDowell. She's
Yes.
one of the best voices I've ever heard in my
Yep,
life.
she's great.
Not
Talented.
to mention like just her as a person. I love Sarah. She was I guess at the time like the interim worship leader. She had been brought on for a certain role, but she was leading worship whenever I was there. And so I'm playing drums. At this point, I'm playing every week. They're paying me every weekend.
Yep.
That's how we were able to move to Charlotte.
You got an apartment?
Got an apartment with my wife and with my best friend. He was our bass player in our band.
Yeah.
His name's Jake Bigelow.
We talked about him on the first podcast.
Yeah.
Pretty sure we'll never, ever be able to get him on here, ever. He's probably cussing us that we're talking about him
he's
right
like,
now.
guys, shut up.
Or he's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I knew you did a podcast, but I didn't listen to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Jake's the man.
That's
Jake's
exactly
the man.
what he
awesome.
would say.
He is the human version of a cat.
Yes. Hey, I
Like-
just read an article title that said if cats were the size of humans, they would kill us. Have you seen that one floating around?
Have you seen a lion or a tiger?
I mean, they are.
Like, that's-
They
I
are.
was like, I read that. I was like, okay, that's
They're
a questionable
real
title,
things.
but I believe that.
if they were our size, they would kill us. I think that's true with
Granted, that
cockroaches
title
too.
may have come from Russia, but I don't care. I'm gonna just go with it. I'm gonna go.
Why not? But yeah, we moved in because I was playing every weekend and really got involved in that church. Before we moved, and Ricky knows this, there was 5 or 6 different churches that I had offers from.
Yep. He was a free agent.
I
I had
was.
to negotiate.
I was.
I had to help you negotiate. I remember.
It's true, man. And you're always about that guaranteed money, right?
Exactly.
It's never about the fluffy money.
I'm like, forget the back end
Yeah.
money. You get
It's
it
not
up front.
120 million. It's 10.
You get that contract writer taken care of up front.
Exactly. So there was a bunch of stuff going on. I got to Forest Hill. I was playing every weekend. Sarah and I became really good friends. It's confusing. My wife's name is also Sarah. So
the worship leader, Sarah.
Worship leader Sarah. We became really good friends. We were talking, and she was like, "So you used to be in a band?" And I was like, "Yeah." Showed her a song. She's like, "Is this you singing?" I was like,
Yep.
"Yeah." I mean, yeah. Like, I've done this my whole life.
Yeah.
She was like, what?
And she was like, "Oh shoot, well we need guy singers, Like, do we have a drummer that we could bring in and have you sing
So
with
you
me?"
could sing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I get up there and sing a duet with her, and like the people are just like, "What?
They just didn't know.
The drummer sings?
they
Oh
just-
my gosh!"
They didn't know. And now I believe that because I've been there. I've been to that campus a few times, and they really do love you all there.
They do.
They're very sweet.
We have really sweet people, man.
Yeah, they're awesome. Everybody I've talked to there has been great.
But from that moment on, not to mention, like, Jimmy and I grew up in a ministry home.
Yeah.
Like we're ministers through and through. We're pastors,
we're
man.
bred to
Yep,
do this.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so, like, just from being, like we said earlier, just being a good human and being
Goes a long way.
consistent and being faithful and being loving, and then practicing what you preach, like read your Bible.
So when
if you're working at a church, read your Bible. Holy smokes.
Don't bang chicks.
Don't. Like,
Just
don't sleep with your girlfriend.
Just don't do it.
Don't do it.
Do it.
It sounds so simplistic, but it kind of is.
Do sleep with your wife.
Yeah.
That's
not your
perfectly
girlfriend.
Not your
fine.
girlfriend. Make her your wife.
Now
and
we're,
then it's
now
fair
we're
game.
saying like the obvious things. Okay.
Yeah, but so that led to a lot of conversations about, man, we could actually use Mike more often up in the front of the stage than back behind the kid.
So did they just give you a trial? What was it like?
yeah, one weekend they were like,
Were they
no.
like-
One weekend they had me scheduled to sing with Sarah.
Okay.
Sarah got sick 2 weekends before that.
Ooh.
And they're like, what do we do? And I was like, I got it. And I don't mean that arrogantly, but it's like,
So
I've
she
done
was
this
sick.
my whole life.
She
It's
was
old
sick,
hat by then.
she got sick.
and you had to cover.
So I
you
got
just
up
covered
there
by
and
yourself.
covered, and I think it was that moment that, like,
They were like, "Hey, you could do
Nelson
this."
and our campus pastor and everything were like, what are we doing? Like, let's utilize him.
Because if I remember, that church would bring like bigger, high level worship leaders.
Yeah.
Right? And what I mean by higher level, like dudes that were artists or
Well
whatever.
known.
Yeah, well known worship leaders.
Yeah, Sarah McDowell is one of the greatest worship leaders I've ever worked with.
Yeah.
But they would still bring in, they try to balance that with
Yeah,
with
exactly.
guys that were traveling. So you'd had a guy-girl combo,
yeah,
that kind of thing.
totally.
So eventually they wind up saying, hey, you know what? We're going to hire Mike. We don't know
That's
how.
crazy.
They didn't tell me this.
Yeah.
Right. But these were the internal conversations that I've later found out about. But so what they wound up doing is making this whole new thing. and they guinea
a
pigged
position.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
they guinea pigged it at the South Park campus, where
Wow.
we had 4 other campuses at the time.
Yeah.
And so Sarah
so
and I,
the structure was you're going to have co-worship leaders.
yep, under a worship director.
Which in your case would be Nelson.
Nelson is the worship
Rios.
director. Rios.
Nelson
Rios. It's actually Rios.
Oh my god.
But yeah, it's
My
Rios.
Brazilian's so bad. Okay.
So Sarah and I then became like equal partners. She would work with the vocalist. I was working with the band. And then she was over like spiritual discipleship of the women
Yep.
on the team. I was over the men. And so we did that for like a year and a half.
And that I would argue that's been good.
It was really good.
It's been good for everybody.
It helped implement that same type of structure throughout the rest of the church.
That's crazy.
Which now we're in talks with, friends from New Spring who are saying, "Hey, our church is heading that way. How do we get there?"
Oh, that's
And it's
rad.
like we're on the front line of something that a lot of churches are trying to go to. Instead of having the one guy, like that one guy or girl that did the choir, that did the praise team, that did the band. Like now it's like more specialized.
yeah.
But yeah, like that's
So-
how I got there in the role that I'm in.
I mean that's pretty incredible. I remember when you told me that,
Yeah.
and I thought that was pretty special. I know I was proud of you.
That's
Still am.
that's exactly
Still
what
very
you said
proud of
to
you.
me.
Yeah.
Because I was fighting like I'm all about taking this next step for my family, for my ministry, for Jesus is calling me into this. But like stepping into something new is also stepping away from something that
Dude, man, but
And
you
so I'm
were
like, I
made
gotta
for
leave.
that. You were made for that, though. Like, that was like, you were made for that, but it also makes for a unique story.
Yeah.
I think of when you're talking about being a musician and then jumping into ministry, it's a big difference.
It
and
is.
I don't think it's for everybody.
I would completely agree with
I
that.
know it would not be for me.
Yeah.
I know as much as faith and being a part of something that I believe in is important to me, I can't work in it.
Right.
It's just not going to work for me.
Well,
Right.
even most bands who are doing this for ministerial purposes,
Yeah.
they come off the road and they realize it's a completely different monster.
it is.
Yeah, it is.
Because you're dealing week in and week out with the
It
same
is.
people.
It
you're in
is,
a
and it's a
community.
struggle. It's a struggle that I think it's always going to happen.
Absolutely.
I think, and that's one thing I love about what you've been able to do. I think I don't know. I don't want to predict this, but I see even more ministry things.
Yeah.
In your future.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if other things change in the future, but
And not to speak too far in the future. Like I
Yeah.
don't want to call out things that aren't there, but I have always had a pastor's heart to be a pastor.
Yeah, absolutely. I see that.
Yeah, and
But
I think that's an organic
some of my
step.
favorite leaders. I have a best friend in Florida who pastors a church in Florida. Probably at a time I needed somebody in my 20s to really help me get through some things. He did that for me.
Mm-hmm.
But he's another one that is just one of my favorite worship leaders. Fantastic person,
Yeah.
right? Good leader. Like he's just a dude I trust.
Yeah.
And you're like him in that manner that ministry is always going to be more important than him playing the bass or the guitar.
Right. Right.
And even though he doesn't even tell churches he leads worship until, he's in the Assemblies of God. So sometimes they move, they'll move pastors around
Right.
a little bit.
Yeah.
Not like the Methodists, but
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a little looser than that. But he's one of those guys that just balances it well, and it had always did, and came at a point in my life that I needed that because I just remember being very disillusioned with the industry in my 20s, early 20s, and just it was just a lot of maturity.
Yeah.
Had to happen on my end, like to even figure out why I was playing the guitar,
Yeah.
like why even do this, and sometimes people go through that at later ages.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they just wake up one day and go, "Why am I doing this?" And
Yeah.
and it doesn't even matter the size of church. I
Right.
see it happen at every level.
Well, maturity isn't
Yeah.
linear.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's not one
It's-
size fits all.
I've seen it happen at every level. I can tell you from my experience and just from watching my close friends that have been in ministry and have gotten out of ministry and stayed in it. It it's like a marriage, right? Like you have to work at it.
Yeah.
You know,
and you've got to lean into it.
Yeah, you have to. And as a musician, a lot of times we're like standoffish. We like, and I'm even this way in a lot of ways where I have to like, when you're at a big church, I think you could play 6 times a week if you wanted to. Like you can make yourself available.
Yeah.
I have a family.
There's opportunity.
I have a business. I have other interests. Video games. But I really do. I do have other interests, including this podcast. Like I'm not trying to promote anything. It's just, I really do enjoy talking to people, and I enjoy getting information out that can help somebody.
Yeah.
But there's always a balance, and even with me, you know, I had to figure out what worked for me, and I got to watch that with you. You know? And that's neat. I think musicians need to hear that. If you're a worship leader listening to this, I don't care at what level. You need to hear that, you know, because if you're not in a place that is healthy, then you're hurting yourself more than you're hurting the church.
Yeah,
and I mean, if I could say anything to musicians or worship leaders, you grow where you're planted.
Exactly.
If you are becoming toxic to everyone around you,
that's awesome.
It's your fault.
Because I have been through some humdingers situations in my life. Like, nothing tragic. Please don't think, oh, Ricky's been through some really horrible things. Not in that way.
Right.
But musically, it's been some interesting situations I've seen myself in over the years.
I mean, we've seen ourselves together in weird situations.
Go through some stuff.
Yeah. And just like, what is happening right now?
I found a place that worked for me at Elevation, like in even New Spring. But Elevation, it turns out I'm the old guy there. Like, it shouldn't work, right?
right.
Like, I remember asking Lance Gatch, I'm like, is my age going to be a problem? He was like, dude, I don't care. Like, he didn't care.
Yeah.
You know, and I was instantly like, okay, Lance, I like you.
Yeah.
Like, instantly.
It's hard not to like him.
No, he is pretty sexy looking. So all the tattoos on his chest, and he's like, rawr, playing the guitar.
But he's just such a nice guy, man.
Dude, he is
Lance is such a nice guy.
He's been in here and just shreds.
Oh yeah.
And he shreds as good on the bass and the guitar. I'm like, I hate you.
He can play drums too, man.
Oh, he can play everything.
He's good.
But again, you know, I found a place where I feel that it's healthy for me, you know, and it surprised me because I was really, I didn't think it would work for me. I was really skeptical at first. Yeah. And it turns out, hey, this is cool for me.
Yeah.
Like, and it always will be. As long as they'll have me there, I'll be there.
Yeah.
And I'll do as much as I can when I can. It's limited sometimes, you know, but I know my role. I know what I need to do, and that's it. You know, and
if that's clearly defined, you're even more likely to lean in.
But I had to like work that out.
You have to find your space.
Yes,
you know, and I just realized looking around the room, you know, we have Forest Hill's more what I would consider like a community family church.
Yeah.
A big version of like
a big
community.
version.
Yeah.
And then Elevation's kind of got that newer, younger edge kind of thing going.
They are about pushing boundaries.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
That
and I am in a tiny church.
Yeah, man, but it's awesome.
But everywhere you find some kind of niche for where your gifts and talents really shine the best, and not to draw attention to yourself, but where are you doing good?
Exactly.
You know? Where is it working?
Yep.
Exactly. And man, we can get into a whole thing about that, but we'll do this in the future because I want to have you back.
Yeah, right on.
But
all about it.
So let's talk about, you probably could hate this, but anyway, I want to talk about some of your music and your aspirations. Like, because I know personally I have to put aside my music to do what I do. That's like not a big sacrifice, but the fact is I would have to take a few weeks off in a year to even remotely figure out musically what I would personally want to do. And I can't, I just don't have the time.
Yeah.
I just don't have the time. But maybe one day we'll have something, there'll be something out there, but it's just got to be the right situation. But what, like, for you in the future, you've got the ministry thing happening, right? You and your wife are in Charlotte. Also, what about your education? Are you doing some more things there too?
Yeah. So in the summer, I'm hopefully starting at Gordon Conwell to get a master's degree in Christian Ministries,
That's
something
crazy.
like that.
So you finished your 4-year?
I'm just gonna get a master's degree.
So you finished your
Yeah, I've got a psych degree,
and you're marrying
Ricky-
people.
Yeah, I'm a reverend. Yeah, but Ricky and I have talked extensively. You know, I thought I was going to go into music because I was a drummer. Like, I'm going to go into music for school, and then, or I'm not going to go to school at all. We're just going to hit it big. Well, that didn't happen. So then I'm like, all right, well, I'll go into religion, and I just felt God tell me, like, go into psychology.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the crap?
But you know
But I
what?
did it.
You flourished.
Oh yeah,
you did it.
Flourished in it, and now I'm in
And
this
working
position
full-time.
where I'm
That's
like
crazy.
using it daily.
using it daily. Yeah, where I wouldn't have
That's
used
awesome.
music theory daily
So
anymore.
you are going to
That's
look
great.
at some more education.
Yep,
right?
going and get a master's
And
degree, man.
What about your music? Like, are we ever going to see like that ultimate drum record, solo drum record, YouTube?
No.
Yeah.
There's enough of that out there.
You guys both know me enough to know, like, I hate drum solos. I seriously,
I know you write,
despise.
though. I know you write music,
But I do
and-
write. I've got a project coming out that Ricky and I have been talking about for a little
Yep.
while. It's called The Cloud in the Darkness, and that's copyrighted.
So be looking.
no one take it.
So be looking out on that. And you sent me. There was something I
Demos.
mixed for you guys
Oh,
last
yeah.
year. What was that? What was that track?
So yeah, we've been working on some stuff with
Dude, that track
our
was slamming.
church. Yeah, they've brought me in to help write these stories for this character named Adventure Joe.
Yeah.
And Adventure Joe is, this kid's character. We do
Yeah.
it like old time radio with
And you wrote a
sound
song
effects.
for it, right?
Yeah. So I actually took the Apostles' Creed.
Dude, that was dope.
Yeah, and
great.
wrote a song that the kids are singing, the parents are singing, and people have memorized the
Dude,
Apostles' Creed.
Steven Slate, just to get a little nerdy, Slate Digital is a company that we use a lot of plugins. Like
Yeah.
I use all of his plugins, and in the studio world, he's like really popular.
Doesn't he have the
He-
organic drum tones?
Yes.
Yeah.
He loved that track. He heard that track and like flipped out.
Right
He was
on,
just
man.
like, bro, you gotta like it was really neat the feedback
Yeah.
I got from him on that.
We
But,
just put out the other one that you just mixed
Yeah.
for us.
Yep.
That was called "I Won't Be Afraid."
dude, that track is
It's dope, right?
Yeah, so good.
Major shout out to Matt Bentley.
Dude,
He's one of our worship
I don't
leaders.
personally know you,
Man.
Matt, but all I know is when I mixed that track, I had a smile on my face the whole time.
Matt's good,
We
man.
had a good time on that track. It was really fun.
He's so sweet too.
Yeah,
like
it's good,
I
man.
love Matt. He's
Yeah.
one of my favorites.
I only know him via text, so maybe I can take him out for a taco.
Yeah, man.
He's
Oh
a
yeah,
very nice
he would be
guy,
down
man.
for that.
So okay, so there is going to be some music from you in the future.
Yes,
correct.
Hopefully nearer than further.
Okay, and then
That's a
so
Sooner than
Jimmy-
later is
that's
a better
good.
way to say
So
that.
Jimmy, I think it's questions time. Questions
time.
By the way, hey, I have a question.
Yeah.
By the way, like, did you ever kiss Jimmy's ex-girlfriends or something? Did that ever happen?
Gosh.
Did that ever happen?
Jimmy, yikes! Have we talked about this, or is this the first time?
No,
we've talked
you've
about-
told me.
Yeah, I made out with his ex-girlfriend.
This was long before real
Several
ministry
times.
days.
This is when you're
Bring
like
that up.
this is when you're like 15 and you're like, this senior in high school wants to make out with me.
I
Okay.
just
So,
had to bring that up because
it's
Jimmy,
partial. It's
like,
partial attraction, and it's partial
I
like,
think
oh, this is never going to happen.
I think in
again.
conversation, Jimmy was like, "Yeah, I think he made out with like, some of my."
Didn't like Paul brought that up last
Yeah,
time we were
yeah,
here.
yeah,
he,
Paul
he was
Cummings.
like, there's some cool stories about you and your brother, and I was like, well, they made out with my girlfriend once.
Okay.
By the
so
way, I love
just-
Paul Cummings. I've played on like every record he's
Yes,
ever put out.
Yes,
I think.
Paul was here. He'll be. He's going to be our pastor for this season. So the
Right
idea for the podcast is going to be. I wanted to have some worship leaders, some
Yeah.
artists, some songwriters. Paul, pastoral wise, he's just he's got so much knowledge. I think to give
Yeah.
out. So
Yeah, Paul's great, man.
Yeah, he's the.
And
just
if
a
you're
good
hearing
friend.
this, and this is like one of multiple episodes you've heard, then you heard it last
Yeah,
time.
you did. But
You know?
if you did not hear it, if you just wanted to find out about Mike's life and you missed Paul, please go visit
go
that.
back.
Yeah, listen to Paul.
Visit that episode. But so Jimmy, let's hit 'em with
Bombs
these questions.
away!
Let's do it, let's
Question
do it. Yep.
time! Bombs away!
Sound effect.
Yeah.
This is great.
We're not
Yeah.
really high.
One-
They're really excited right now. Everybody that's listening, they're so excited about Bombs Away.
So, question one
Yeah.
is what is your favorite to date drummer? Not favorite drummer to go out on a date
My
with.
favorite drummer to date. No. Oh gosh.
And it's kind of twofold.
It
So,
is.
like, who's your favorite drummer of all time? And then,
Who you digging
like,
now?
what is your favorite symbol to use on a kit?
Oh gosh. So you guys know, like, listening to the story, I have a weird perception on drumming, right? Because I'm a songwriter.
Yeah.
So Don Henley is one of my favorite people because of that.
Yep.
One of my favorite artists because of his songwriting. Don Henley never does anything flashy with drums, so I can't say he's my favorite drummer.
Right.
But as like that entity, like I really love Don Henley.
He did come from, a pretty influential band.
Yeah,
Kind of.
No. So there's a studio drummer that made
the
me
Eagles. The Eagles, if you don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
The just in case
Just in case.
you've been living under a rock. But studio wise, the guy that made me really want to be a studio drummer is a guy named Matt Chamberlain.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I knew it.
So
Wait, Matt Chamberlain.
not Jimmy Chamberlain.
Not
Jimmy
Jimmy.
Chamberlain's amazing from the Pumpkins.
He's the Pumpkins guy.
Yeah,
but
Matt Chamberlain-
what did he play on?
Everything you've ever heard. Like and
Lifehouse?
that's what it is. So Lifehouse,
Yeah.
Stephen Curtis Chapman,
Oh yeah.
a lot of Christian folks.
Saddle up your horse.
He's played on all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that. I would just be like, I love this song. As a little kid, or dang, I love this song.
And he
well,
played
then
on
you
all
find
that stuff.
out
There's a thread.
Matt Chamberlain's played drums on all of them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, shoot, that's the guy I want to be like that can be versatile and
Dude,
play anything.
He is fantastic.
Yeah.
Killer
fantastic.
tones, killer fills.
Yeah.
Really, really good simple pocket
Man.
beats.
Oh, yeah.
It's great.
And then the guy from George from the 1975, dude.
Oh yes, he is great.
He is great. I wish he wasn't high all the time.
Well,
He is so
yeah,
good, though.
he's great. He drives the ship, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah,
he really does.
With
I think,
hats, snare, and
I think
kick.
he really.
That's it.
Yeah.
You can tell he's really involved in their songwriting.
Yeah, he
Absolutely.
is so good. So yeah, I would say Matt Chamberlain and
That's probably the guy that
And
kick-started
George.
your view of drumming.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Dave Grohl. I mean,
Who doesn't?
but Matt Chamberlain, I think, is the guy.
Okay. Favorite symbol on a kit? This is
Favorite-
not question number 2. This is just the other half.
Yeah. So, oh man, I'm a list guy. I played in a studio in Raleigh one time that had the Omni symbol. Do you remember that one,
Oh,
Rick?
yeah. Oh,
Came
yeah.
out a few years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a 3-tiered symbol. So like the bell is this unfinished, hand hammered, like bell.
Wow.
Then the middle ring is like this finished, like brassy kind of nice attack kind of tone.
Yep.
And then the outside rim is like this washy kind of like
so
big
you got
cymbal
three
sound.
different tones
so
on it.
on the same cymbal.
That's neat.
Would I travel with it? No, because I don't like. I like classic stuff. But my favorite cymbal line has always been Zildjian Avedis.
Yeah.
Unfinished, like that's it. So my favorite cymbal that I've got right now is this 70s Avedis that I bought for $40 from Ricky Harrison,
Yeah.
who was
I
a
remember
drummer
that.
at that church.
Thank you,
yeah,
Ricky.
I remember that symbol.
Thank you, Ricky.
Yeah, I have those.
Yeah.
I think I have the Dark K's here.
Yeah, I love Dark K's.
Yeah,
like
it's great.
I've always been a Zildjian guy though. I've played on the last Sabian and Manel and
What's the
Feisty.
one that was on every worship drummer's drum kit for a long time? I can't remember. I don't know if those are still
the Dark K was on like
Dark K.
everything. The Ping Ride was on everything.
What about the Zilbell? No Zilbell love?
No.
Wait, it's only for metal bands.
Yeah, I did have a 12-inch Wuhan.
What?
Wuhan. It's the one symbol named for the way it actually sounds.
Yeah, but it was like $20. Anyway, I cracked the junk out of
Okay.
that one.
Next
Okay,
question.
cool.
Next question.
Question number 2, as a singer-songwriter, as a worship leader, you listen to vocalists.
Yeah.
So who's your favorite vocalist? I know, like, if you're like me, it's
Sarah
I gotta
Atkins.
figure. Oh, okay.
I said it.
Hello.
Okay.
That's his wife, guys.
Okay.
his
Yeah, that's my wife.
guys.
Favorite,
Sarah McDowell, she's
favorite vocalist that most of our listeners would probably know.
Okay, so I really like vocals that aren't super overproduced. So I have never been a fan of like Mariah Carey or Whitney Houston or any of those vocals. I like raw vocals. So honestly, the two that come to my mind, John Foreman as a songwriter, and then just kind of singing whatever he wants to sing. It doesn't sound amazing. His early records sounded
John
like
Foreman?
Kermit the Frog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just
love it.
listening
Yeah.
to Hello Hurricane this past week.
And he's got that new one where he's done like, what is it, 25 concerts in
Yeah.
24 hours?
Yeah,
He-
we're actually
he
going
is-
to see him in Charleston
he
next
is,
week.
that's a unique band. Like
Yeah.
he's him and his brother, all those guys now, but I mean they're a good band, but
That was the pinnacle of our playing career.
yeah,
was
they were
sharing
great.
the stage with
and
with
it's
Switchfoot.
crazy. Like they always they go away for a little bit, and then they just put out this record that just smokes.
Yeah.
It just crushes.
It's amazing.
And just good dudes, man.
Yeah.
Just sort of like the typical West Coast chill dudes, surfer dudes.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah, absolutely.
But
And,
I would say the guy that for me can do no wrong is Brandon Flowers from the Killers.
Man, I called
my
both
God.
those. I called them both in my head.
Dude,
Oh my
Brandon
God.
Flowers, man.
Yeah.
He's great.
Their new record. Oh man.
I think I've listened to that.
Oh my
recently.
gosh.
Yeah.
They have a song called Rut. If you listen to anything.
Okay.
So my story, I won't go into great detail. My story has a lot of depression and
There's a great
anxiety.
video. I saw that video.
Yeah.
So it's on Facebook.
It's on Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like going through that, having some suicidal episodes, trying to get things figured out. He wrote this song called Rut for his wife, like from her perspective. Dude, I wept like a baby
Yeah.
Wow.
the first time I heard it because
That's awesome.
it was like my story. But Brandon Flowers, I feel like can't do any wrong, and his vocal can get weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
You're
those,
right.
dude, those are my man. I love anything that they do. Anything
Very cool.
that they do.
Very cool. Awesome. Well, and last question. Everybody gets asked this.
Yeah.
What is and where is it from? Your favorite taco?
So,
No pressure.
well, no pressure, but Mountain Burrito, man, I just don't know how you beat it.
Mountain Burrito here in Morganton, North Carolina,
Oh yeah.
run by
Brian.
Brian Drake.
Yeah.
Man.
Yep.
Just-
Who will be a guest this
It's
season.
amazing. Like I have dreamed about Mountain Burrito since I've moved to Charlotte, and that is not a joke.
Oh, he'll love to hear
It
that.
is that
Oh,
good.
man.
It is that good.
Oh man! But then the other one, like the more obscure one, when
The Mistress.
the L.A. yeah, the L.A. trip that I said when we went and saw Jimmy Kimmel and stuff, we saw a local Charlotte band out there doing a showcase named Flagship.
Oh yeah.
So they're buddies. Their show, there was a bunch of people standing outside this venue. So this random taco truck rolls up, and I'm just like, yeah, we're in LA. If I die from eating a taco, I'm gonna die in LA eating a taco. Like
And
it's
it
not
was-
gonna
it
be
was
in
probably
Morganton.
killer, right?
It was so good. It was on like corn. It was like street taco. It was on corn
Oh, yeah.
tortilla.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like they just like whipped it up and served it. And dude,
It was
like
killer.
beef,
it was
chicken,
so
what?
good. I don't remember, man.
Just like here's
I
our
just
taco.
remember it being amazing.
Yeah.
And, take into account, like, we're these boys from, like, the mountains of Western North Carolina hanging out in L.A. thinking,
Yeah.
man, we're really cool now. We've been to the California.
got some
And,
some tacos.
yeah, so, but Mountain Burrito, man, like, how do you
I know. That's me.
beat, if you have not been to Mountain Burrito,
Then they need to go.
there is a hole in your life.
There is.
And you need to
It's
eat it.
it's part of the reason that Morganton is becoming
Oh yeah,
more
absolutely.
touristy.
Yeah.
I think.
Absolutely.
Fill that hole in your life
People,
with delicious
people in Morganton want their beer.
tacos.
They want their beer, and then they go and get their tacos.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
That's right.
There's a lot of Charlotte guys that know about Fonta Flora.
That's the big man. That place is unbelievable. I think they do like a monthly deal,
Yeah.
and there's a line that wraps around
Yeah.
the block.
Haven't
Wow.
they just
On
opened
Saturdays?
one in Charlotte?
The
I think.
maybe the only time
Yes,
I
they
ever
did.
went
They
there, I
added
bought
a-
a hat for my buddy Trent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a big. I'm not really big into that culture. It's just not my thing. But I have a lot of friends that just drive down here just to go there.
Yeah.
So I've met tons of people there.
Man,
We
Mountain
hang out
Burrito
there. Yeah.
and Fonta Flora.
So,
Yeah.
any more questions?
Nah, man, we're good.
Mike, where can our guest find you for anything? Because I know
I almost said my
Charlotte.
address.
You're not really a social media guy.
No, I
You
only,
only-
post when I think something's really
You
awesome.
only post about the Dolphins, Miami Dolphins.
Yeah,
That's about it.
And the Braves
Yeah, sports.
and my dog Poe.
Yep, that's exactly.
That's
those
true.
are the three things
That's
you post
true.
about.
Yeah, but they're amazing things. So
They
you
are.
should follow me.
Okay, but you don't have a Twitter? Are you?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter.
Okay.
Mike Atkins 13.
Yep, and
um,
on Instagram.
I'm
too.
on Instagram. Mike Atkins 13. 13 for Dan Marino.
You're dang right.
Dang right. And then Facebook, Mike Atkins. So like, if you're interested in seeing that story that we had just talked about,
Yep.
that's on Facebook.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I'm on social media. I enjoy posting posting Instagram stories of me embarrassing my wife in public. That's my favorite thing in the world to do.
That is true.
I'm sorry, Sarah. It's just my favorite.
And Forest Hill Church also does a live stream.
Yeah.
So
if you want to experience the worship that you guys put out musically, then that's online.
So being at the main campus, we stream live. So it's you can go to livestream.com/Forest Hill Church.
Yep.
And go to the weekend services, and you can stream right there, or you can stream on foresthill.org.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, thank you for doing this.
Yeah, man.
You will be back. We're still tweaking some things. I think we're working on some things for the next season.
Yeah.
But I know I love you.
I love you too, man.
Twas a pleasure.
And you're all right.
Thankful thankful for your family, but I am thankful for you, man.
Yeah, thanks, man.
It's been fun it is fun to watch your career arc.
Yeah.
So
it's been a whirlwind, man.
I may have you back. We may be yelling about the Dolphins for about an hour.
Let's do it.
Because I'm so confused on what that organization is.
Well, they just told Landry he can have a trade if he wants one.
What the heck, man? I am speechless when it comes to that right now. But that's a whole different
is a
podcast.
Story for another time.
That is a whole different podcast. Jimmy, where can we find you?
Man, I sell beard products. RuddyManBeard.com.
Dude, what's the stuff you gave me today?
I gave you the brand new Ruddy Waves sea salt spray.
It's awesome.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
it's for your eyes.
It's not. It's not for your eyes. It's for your hair.
It's for your eyebrows.
It's for him and her.
Yep.
So
where can they find your products?
They can find my products RuddyManBeard.com.
Okay.
And then you can find me on Facebook.
Yep.
Can you clarify why it's for her?
It's for her hair.
Okay.
To make it look
wavy. It's not for her.
It's not a body spray or anything.
Well,
like
no,
that.
but it's not for her luscious beard.
No, it's not for her beard.
I mean, hey,
she's got one.
There could be chicks with beards who could use your product. I mean, it happens. Look, we got a speechless. All right. So if y'all want to find me, you can find me on Twitter at Ricky Rodriguez or on Instagram at Ricky Rod. I just started promoting the podcast today. It's early March. So you can find us at bombhousepodcast.com.
Correct.
Or on the Facebook page, Welcome to the Bombhouse Podcast. We just started getting the word out. So season 1 will wrap up soon. We got some fun surprises for this season. But we do appreciate y'all. If you have any comments, questions, hate mail, I'll even read your hate mail. But if you send me hate mail, I very well may read it.
Live.
So watch what you say, because I will read it
just
and
get like a
respond to
second
it.
opinion. Have it edited.
Yeah.
Make sure your grammar's right.
I love criticism, to be honest, because it just to me it's just a vehicle to hash things out quicker.
Yeah.
Right. So let's do it. Like, if you have anything to say, please let us know. We want your feedback. But everybody, have a good day. God bless.
And take care.
Bye.